Hello and welcome. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Hydra X6 reversible base plate safety razor head. This is how it comes from either Shapeways or Sculpteo. It comes in a little bag like this, and it comes in parts with an interlocking pin like this. One thing you'll notice is that the packaging is not very fancy. Another thing you'll notice is from the top, you'll notice that you need some hardware in order to be able to attach this to your safety razor handle. So I get a lot of questions about this. I get a lot of questions about why can't you include the hardware. And the bottom line is that I am just a hobbyist, probably like you. I design this stuff and I upload it to Shapeways or Sculpteo, and I allow them to make prints for other people, and that's how you get your print. I don't package this myself. This comes straight from Shapeways. It comes straight from Sculpteo.com, and I don't actually make the money here. Those printing services are the ones who make the money. And they are just printing services, and that's why they can't include the hardware. They just do the printing for you. So this is how it arrives in a plastic bag with the parts and an interlocking pin holding it together. The interlocking pin actually helps reduce the cost of the print because it makes it easier for people to handle. It's a little bit like a keychain. So instead of handling individual parts, they can just handle the thing as a whole. I'm just going to go ahead and snap the interlocking pin here like this. There we go. And separate the parts so we can take a better look. So there's a top cap here, straightforward, a couple pins for to hold your blade in place. And then you have, with the X6, you have 3 reversible base plates. So the way this works is very similar to other reversible base plates. You might be familiar with the Rockwell system. There was a vintage French razor which had a reversible base plate as well. And I believe that increasingly there's more and more people making these reversible or at least replaceable base plates. So if you look here, this is an indicator of your aggression level. So this particular one has an aggression level of 2. If you were to assemble it this way, with these notches 2 on the bottom, this would be a number 2 level of aggression. Or if you flip it over so that these 5 notches are showing, that would be a number 5 level of aggression that way. So one thing you'll notice also is, let's talk about this gray material for a second. This material is a nylon 12. Shapeways calls it professional plastic. Sculpteo calls it Multijet Fusion plastic. But it's a nice, dense, hard material. It is a plastic. It is a nylon 12. But this is my preferred material. Shapeways used to have a blend of material and aluminum, which I really liked, particularly the polished version of that. They've since stopped making that. And of course, as time goes on, this video is going to go out of date because materials will always change. But this gray material is heavy and dense, and it's a nylon 12. Now there's another material we should talk about. It's the regular white material. So here's a version printed with just the regular white material. So at Shapeways, this would be called the versatile white, or versatile plastic, excuse me. At Sculpteo, this would be called the SLS plastic. And the way both of these are made by a laser melting these particles together. So it's a very different kind of 3D printing process than perhaps the spool of starch-based plastic that you might have at the house. That only costs you a couple $100. The machines that produce this are very, very precise. So this white material is precise to about 0.1 millimeter, which is the thickness of a razor blade. And this gray material is good to about 0.08 millimeters, so a little bit better precision there. Accuracy and precision. And the reason that makes a difference is because in order to make this available in the white nylon, I really had to design for the white nylon. Excuse me. As a result, you'll notice that there's just a little bit, just a very, very little bit of play in the head here when you put this together, but it's definitely not enough play to, for example, give you bad blade alignment. It's just something to be aware of. I had to design for this material, and so as a result this material suffers just a little bit, but I've used both, and for me personally it's been just fine. I haven't had any blade alignment issues with either one of them. I get a lot of questions about why I don't print in metal, and the reason for that is, as I said before, these materials here I can print to, you know, at least 0.1 millimeter precision and accuracy. A lot of the metal techniques today are really, really imprecise. For example, a 0.2 millimeter accuracy or worse. So until I can find technology that can print my designs in a material that's useful for razors, as well as at a precision and accuracy that I need for razors, I won't engage in those technologies. It's just kind of a waste of time. Another thing to keep in mind is, just like you, I have to pay for my prints, and so I do try to keep the costs very reasonable as much as possible. For the number of prints I have to do in order to perfect one of my designs, I do end up spending a bit of money, and so it's really important for me to make a product that I can afford, but also that other people will want to buy as well. I get a lot of questions about nylon, you know, whether it's a durable material. Some people are aware that there are certain kinds of nylon that don't do well in water, for example. This is not one of those. This is a nylon 12, and you can go online, you can look it up. This stuff you can find chemical reaction reports that say it's stable against vegetable oil, against animal oils, against water, against soap, against alcohol. This is okay for use in a razor. I have prints that are several years old, and I've not really seen much wear. I even took a trip once and put my razor away when it was still wet and forgot that I had it in my dop bag. When I got back, I put the dop bag away and forgot that the razor was there. On my next trip, I pulled out the razor, and it had turned a little bit moldy because it had been put away wet. But I was able to take just regular dishwashing liquid, and I was able to just, you know, kind of scrub it down, and good as new. So there, at least in my circumstance, there was no lasting effect. Even though this is a porous material, it cleans up really well with just regular dishwashing liquid and an old toothbrush. I can't promise you that your experience will be exactly the same as mine. Shapeways and Sculpteo are always changing these materials up, but I can tell you that I personally haven't had any bad experiences in that regard. So now that we've cut this pin away, we've separated the parts, let me show you the hardware that we need to assemble this. So this is a M5 flathead machine screw. Okay, let's see if we can get this to focus. It's an M5 flathead machine screw. It's 20 millimeters long, so this is a standard metric part. You should be able to find this at any hardware store. I tend to get mine at an industrial supply store. This particular screw is stainless steel. You can get brass, you can get whatever you like. And again, a lot of people don't like the whole nature of assembling this yourself. So during the course of this video, I'm going to show you how to affix the stainless steel screw here to the top cap, so that at least you can have an assembly experience. It's a little bit more like razors you might be used to. So that's what we'll do in this video. But I also want to draw your attention to, again, back to this gray material. I haven't had this experience with Shapeways. This particular print was made by Sculpteo.com. But you see this little gray, it almost looks like a dust. There is some sort of solvent on the surface of this print. Now, the material itself looks almost mineral-like, and that is to say it looks kind of like particulate, almost rock-like material. Doesn't feel that way, it looks that way. And so the fact that you see this gray dust makes it even more pronounced that there's something going on there, there's something on that surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, again, the liquid dishwashing soap, and I'm going to take an old toothbrush, and I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to get this ready so that we can attach this machine screw to the top cap. Alright, stay tuned. Welcome back. we have the cleaned up top cap here. We have the cleaned up base cap here, or base plate here. We have our M5 20mm machine screw, and we have a nut for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this 2-part epoxy adhesive to attach the screw to the top cap. Okay, now this epoxy is marine safe. It's marine grade, I guess is what they call it. Cost me a few bucks a few years back. I've actually made 3 shaving brushes with this. They turned out really well, so this is the type of adhesive that I would personally recommend. A little bit goes a long way. I'm going to mix that up in this little spoon here, or spork. It's worth noting anything that this epoxy touch is going to go bad. So I have cardboard down over my work surface. I have tools that are disposable that I don't intend to use again. So once this epoxy starts going, it's going to stick to everything. Not wearing any jewelry, not wearing any watches. We just want to be super safe. So once we start mixing this epoxy, I got to go fast, so I'm probably not going to speak a whole lot, and just enjoy the show. Okay? I'm going to use the number 6 base plate, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to attach the screw and just apply a little bit of tension so that it dries perfectly straight. There we go. Now we put this in a well-ventilated place and let it dry. This particular epoxy takes about 16 hours to cure, and then it's ready to go. So you don't need that nut anymore. You just load it up like you would any other safety razor over the posts. The base plate goes down, and the threads on the M5 machine screw will fit most standard safety razor handles. Fat tip is an exception. It's, I'm sure someone's going to come up with a razor handle that uses non-standard threads, but most of your razor handles here fit an M5 threading. There's a couple things left to talk about. One is, if you look at this base plate, I'll show you on this one, you'll notice that there are these 2 little raised areas here and here, and that makes it so that a standard razor handle will fit in there, but something that's super wide will not. So for example, some of you may have a 3D printed manatee handle. That's what this is. And because of the diameter here, it actually won't clear the sides there. So this is not a good choice for this particular razor head. Another thing that I didn't mention last time is that this nylon 12, both the gray and the white, if you try, then you will succeed at melting this. So just need to make you aware of that. The standard temperature for hot water, at least in North America, is recommended to be less than 180 degrees. At 180 degrees it becomes unsafe, for example, for children. And so, strangely enough, that's the temperature for these guys. So I guess the rule of thumb, if you have a guitar, you kind of know the rule of thumb for guitars is, if you're comfortable in the air, the guitar is comfortable in the air. Likewise, for this razor head, if you're comfortable with the water, then the razor head's comfortable in the water. So that was just something I wanted to remind you guys about this material. Thank you.